Jai Gurudev. So welcome back to Yoga Vasistha. After a long break, you guys took an exceptionally long time to submit your exams this time. Anyway, it was your last but one paper. After this, we will directly have the final exam of the complete Yoga Vasistha book. Yeah. So let's start regular classes from now onwards and let's complete the book. We'll start with page 297.
Rama asked, "How is it possible for these mortal eyes to behold the celestials?" Vasistha said, "Indeed, no mortal can behold the celestials with these mortal eyes, but through the eyes of pure intelligence, the celestials are seen as in a dream. The celestials are able to fulfill one's desires. Vision of celestials is non-different from dream. In fact, the only difference being that the effect of the vision is lasting. Again, if one is able to hold the life force in the Dvadashanta, 12 finger breaths from the body, for a considerable time after exhalation, the life force is able to enter other bodies. This power is inherent in the life force, though by nature unsteady, it can be steadied. Since the ignorance which envelops everything is insubstantial, such exceptions are often seen in the movement of energy in this world. Surely, all this is indeed Brahman. The diversity and diverse functions are mere figures of speech."
Okay. So this is a very important question. That how is it that anyone with these mortal eyes can see celestials? So celestials here basically are people who belong to the other lokas other than this physical world of ours. Because I have these 5 senses of sight, sound, taste, touch and smell, I'm limited by these 5. I can only perceive what these 5 can, and they obviously work in a particular range. They do not work beyond this range. So that is why Rama asked this important question, that how can somebody see the celestials with these mortal eyes? Yeah. So now let's look at the answer. Indeed, no mortal can behold the celestials with these mortal eyes, but through the eyes of pure intelligence, the celestials are seen as in a dream. What is the meaning of the eyes of pure intelligence? When one goes into meditation, into samadhi, one attains swabhava jnana, that knowledge of the truth of the highest through one's own awakening, inner experience. Yeah, whatever you see outside in this world, earth, water, fire, ether, air, is all inside also. And in meditation, when you go deeper and deeper, you can experience the play and display of earth, water, fire, ether, air. You understand that everything is just a drama created by these, and that you have that potentiality to get established in ether and just witness this truth. The day you start establishing in that ether and witnessing that truth, many more truths come to your awareness, and that is pure intelligence. Yeah. So he says, with the eyes of pure intelligence, the celestials are seen, and it is similar to seeing a dream. Yeah. In a dream, how things happen, it is only images. Yeah. It's not words, it's not really sounds, it's all images in a dream. So that's how you would see a celestial, it's just like an image. Like many times I tell you that you are not sitting alone in that room and listening to this jnana. There are other souls around you who are thirsty for this jnana, and they know that Yoga Vasistha is once every week at this particular time, and this person watches sincerely. So he sits down right by your side and listens to me. You may not be able to see him now, but with the eyes of pure intelligence, one day you might get there. Celestials are able to fulfill one's desires. Yeah, many times you just desire for something and immediately it comes to you. Yeah? Or whatever in your life has come to you, really look back. You have intensely desired for it, and that's how it came. So these devas or yakshas, gandharvas, kinnaras, they are all around you, and each has its own power to bless. And so many times you have been blessed, sometimes with money, sometimes with a promotion. Sometimes you say, oh, I don't know what good karma I did to get such a good partner or such a good family member. Yeah? All this is the blessing of the celestials. Vision of celestials is not different from dream. In fact, the only difference being that the effect of the vision is lasting. It appears like a dream, just like images, just like an image. Very hazy. It comes and it goes away. It's like a flash. But the vision is lasting. Why he said the vision is lasting? Because when I see a dream, I remember few things from the dream in the morning when I wake up. But as I progress through the day, by the time it's evening, I've forgotten the dream completely. I can hardly even remember the visions. The visions are not lasting in my memory. But when you see the celestials, it's a lasting vision. Again, if one is able to hold the life force in the Dvadashanta for a considerable time after exhalation, the life force is able to enter other bodies. So he's telling you about how siddhis are attained. So first of all, warning, don't try to sit and do this and expect, okay, I'm going to focus on Dvadashanta right here. I am focusing here. After exhalation, I will just stay there. Yeah, it takes some time to attain this state. It is a siddhi which can be attained. And when you reach that stage, how it happens, he is telling you, with your focus at Dvadashanta, after exhalation, if you just stay there and do not go back with your inhalation, as in the focus does not go back with the inhalation, it just stays at exhalation. And if you've achieved that state in pranayama where you can let your complete lungs empty out and stay like that for a long period of time without taking the next inhalation, in that gap, that external gap, you can achieve this state. How? The life force then gets the power to enter other bodies. Now this power is inherent in the life force itself. So it's not something that you have to manufacture. It is already there in your life force. You already have the power. You possess this power. The only thing is that you have not fathomed that potentiality of your consciousness. And that can happen only by practice, only by meditation, only by going deeper and deeper and deeper into the exhalation, inhalation, meditation that he has taught us earlier. This power is inherent in the life force, though by nature unsteady, it can be steadied. Yeah? And this it can be studied happens only with practice. Since the ignorance which envelops everything is insubstantial, such exceptions are often seen in the movement of energy in this world. Surely all this indeed but Brahman, the diversity and diverse functions, are mere figures of speech. And all this is just the power of the Brahman consciousness. There is nothing outside the Brahman consciousness, remember. So all this is your potentiality. Let's read ahead now.
Rama asked, in order to enter into minute spaces, Nadi, and then in order to fill the inner space with the life force, one's body has to be made both atomic and solid at the same time. How is it made? Vasistha said, when wood and the saw come together, wood is split. But when two pieces of wood come together, there is fire. All this is part of nature. In this physical body, two forces come together in the abdomen. Together they form a hollow stick. In it rests the Kundalini. This Kundalini stands midway between heaven and earth and is ever vibrant with life force. Dwelling in the heart, it experiences all. It keeps all the psychic centers in a state of constant vibration or motion. It digests or devours everything. It makes the psychic centers tremble by the movement of prana. It sustains the fire in the body till all the essences have been exhausted. By nature it is cool, but because of it the body becomes warm. It is spread throughout the body, though it dwells in the heart where it is contemplated by the yogi. It is of the nature of jnana, and in its light a distant object is seen as if near. Whatever is cool is the moon, the self. From this moon arises fire. The body is made of this moon and this fire. In fact, the entire world is made of these two, the cool moon and the warm fire. Or you may consider that this world is the creation of knowledge and ignorance, the real and the unreal, in which case consciousness, light and knowledge are considered the sun or the fire. The inertness, darkness and ignorance are considered as the moon.
So now Rama has a question. He says, if one has to enter minute spaces like the nadi, one has to make it's in oneself like really minute. And how is that possible? So Vasistha says, when wood and saw come together, wood is split. But when two pieces of wood come together, there is fire. All this is part of nature. So what is he really saying? That we are governed by the elements, earth, water, fire and air. They govern us. Everything in this creation is just a combination of those four and their nature. And nature has its own laws. Nature has created certain laws for fire. Fire acts in that particular manner. Nature has created certain laws for earth element. Earth element behaves in that particular manner. When earth element and fire element come together, they have to have their own nature. And by their own nature, the fire burns the wood. A metal or knife will cut the wood. When two logs of wood come together and are rubbed against each other, fire will be produced. These are all laws of nature. So whatever happens in your body, whatever you experience in meditation, if it is pure experience, devoid of imagination. It is nothing but the law of nature. Clear? All this is a part of nature. So let's look ahead how he explains this. In this physical body, two forces come together in the abdomen. Together they form a hollow stick. In it rests the Kundalini. Yeah? A positive force and a negative force, they come together and they form this hollow. And in that hollow is that energy which is running up and down. And that is called the Kundalini. It is not different from the life force. It is not different from prana. The Kundalini stands midway between heaven and earth and is ever vibrant with life force. Dwelling in the heart, it experiences all. So, the Kundalini is the seat of experience in every human. It keeps all the psychic centers in a state of constant vibration or motion. What does this mean? We are all not particles, we are not matter. We just appear to be matter, but really we are tiny vibrations, and this you observe in your meditation. We are just very, very tiny, minute vibrations, each one of us. And the psychic centers are nothing but where these vibrations converge. And these are in constant vibration because of the life force or the Kundalini. It digests or devours everything. Basically, it gives your physical body the power of digestion. It makes the psychic centers tremble by the movement of prana. It's just a poetic way to say that prana, the life force, moves up and down in this Kundalini. It sustains the fire in the body till all the essences have been exhausted. Means what? This body can survive only between a particular range of fire element. Below 95 degrees Fahrenheit, this body will go into hypothermia and I will die. Beyond 110 degrees Fahrenheit, this body will become extremely hot and burn and I will die. So there is just this particular range of fire element that I can tolerate and I can call life within me. Clear? So it sustains the fire in the body. Who maintains this range? It is that Kundalini Shakti in my body that maintains that fire. At the end of 80, 90, 100 years, whenever it is time for this body to drop, that fire starts diminishing. That means the essences start exhausting. And all this happens because of the Kundalini. By nature, it is cool, but because of it, body becomes warm. It is spread throughout the body, though it dwells in the heart where it is contemplated by the yogi. Well, we are not talking about the physical heart. Yeah, we are talking about the heart of the subtle body. So, in the heart of the subtle body is where its dwelling place is. It is very cool by nature, but it makes the body warm and it is therefore all over the body. In fact, even outside the body. When you meditate and you're deep in meditation, you can observe if there is a lot of fire element and you'll observe that the heat is radiating from your body because of that increased fire element. Suppose the fire element has reduced a lot, you will experience coolness around your body. Yeah? So that fire element is not just limited to the physical aspect of this so-called body, but also the subtle aspect, the subtle body around. of the nature of jnana, and in its light, a distant object is seen as if near. So this is where the answer of seeing celestial, seeing those things which are not apparent to these mortal eyes comes in. It says it itself is the nature of jnana. Jnana means the truth, the highest truth, what is, the plain display of the consciousness in the form of elements, and being able to experience all these elements in their dance together is jnana. So now this itself is the knowledge, this itself is jnana, and in its light a distant object can be seen as if near. That does not mean that you will see the suns of another solar system right here in front of you. Meditation, you can go to those levels, but that's not what this statement actually means. It is just a metaphorical expression of telling you that which you cannot perceive through the five senses of this physical body can be perceived by you in meditation. And that power that is bestowed on you is bestowed by this Kundalini. Whatever is cool is the moon, the self. From this moon arises fire. The body is made up of this moon and this fire. In fact, the entire world is made up of these two, the cool moon and the warm fire. These are the two forces which are seemingly opposite, but actually it is the same, no? Heat and cold are just the two opposite ends of one single element or one single parameter called temperature. Correct? When the temperature is high, you say it is fire. When the temperature is low, you call it ice or coolness. So it is actually the same range, it is the same element. Are you getting this? So it is the cool moon or the warm fire. It is this entire range. This is what is running the universe. You get it? We need both coolness and warmth. Or you may consider that this world is the creation of knowledge and ignorance, the real and the unreal, in which case consciousness or light and knowledge are considered the sun or fire, and inertness, darkness, ignorance are considered as the moon. You will say, why we need ignorance? We need knowledge, but why do we need ignorance? If this Maya would not have been there, if this ignorance of this samsara would have not enveloped you, you would have not realized the futility of ignorance. You would have not realized the importance of jnana. So really, you came to the importance of jnana because of realization of futility of this ignorance. And the futility of ignorance can be realized only by totally getting enveloped by this ignorance. So it is equally important as is jnana. Got it? So the cool moon is ignorance, inertness, darkness. The warm fire is knowledge, is consciousness. Very clear? This page is clear? Yeah. Can we move ahead?
Vasistha continued, fire and moon exist in a mutual causal relationship in the body. In a way, theirs is the relationship of seed and tree, one giving birth to the other. In a way, it is like light and darkness, in which one destroys the other. One who questions all this, saying, since there is no desire motivation, such causality and such activity are illogical, should be quickly dismissed, for such activity is obvious and is the experience of all. The fire prana drinks the nectarine, coolness at the mouth of the cool moon, filling the entire space within the body. It is the yogi's theory that the nectar flows from the palate and is consumed by the gastric fire in the solar plexus. Thus, the cool moon is the cause of the burning fire, and he prescribes the Viparita Karani to prevent the loss of this nectar. Fire dies and becomes the moon, even as day ends and the night arrives. At the junction of the fire and the moon, of light and darkness, of night and day, there is a revelation of the truth which eludes the understanding of even wise men. Even as a day consists of day and night, the jiva is characterized by consciousness and inertia. Fire and sun symbolize consciousness, and the moon symbolizes darkness or inertia. Even when the sun is seen in the sky, darkness vanishes on earth. When the light of consciousness is seen, the darkness of ignorance and the cycle of becoming come to an end. And if the moon, the darkness of ignorance or inertia, is seen for what it is, consciousness is realized as the only truth. It is the light of consciousness that reveals the inert body. Consciousness, being non-moving and non-dual, is not grasped. However, it can be realized through its own reflection, the body. Consciousness, when it becomes aware of itself, gains the world. When such objectification is abandoned, there is liberation. Prana is heat or fire. Apana is the cool moon, and the two exist like light and shade in the same body. The light of consciousness and the moon of description together bring about experience. The phenomena called the sun and the moon, which had existed from the beginning of world creation, also exist in the body. O Rama, remain in that state where the sun has absorbed the moon into itself. Remain in that state in which the moon has merged with the sun in the heart. Remain in that state where there is the realization that the moon is but the reflection of the sun. Know the junction of the sun and the moon within yourself. The external phenomena are utterly useless.
Okay. So like I told you, the fire and the moon, they are just the opposite ends of the same spectrum. And what spectrum are we talking about? The spectrum of temperature. And that spectrum of temperature is nothing but the fire element. That element sustains life in this body and life in this creation. Yeah. So fire and moon exist in a mutual causal relationship in the body. In a way, theirs is the relationship of seed and tree, one giving birth to the other. In a way, it is like light and darkness in which one destroys the other. Yeah, this is very true, no? When you're hot, you're not cold. So, when heat has come in, coolness is destroyed. When you're cold, you're not hot. So, in a way, coolness destroys the heat. One destroys the other. Yeah. Both exist in the same body together. That is what keeps this body alive. That temperature range keeps this body moving and is called life. One who questions all this, saying, since there is no desire or motivation, such causality and such activity, means coolness and hotness, are illogical. You should quickly dismiss such arguments. because such activity is obvious and it is the experience of all. Though intellectually it may sound opposites, hot and cold, they are the same. There is no difference. Though intellectually it is difficult to understand these opposite values, but opposite values are complementary. The fire prana drinks the nectarine coolness at the mouth of the cool moon, filling the entire space within the body. Now, understand that this is just another poetic way of expressing the same thing. It is the yogi's theory that nectar flows from the palate. From the palate, the nectar or the coolness comes down and it is consumed by the gastric fire. The fire is in your solar plexus. Thus, the cool moon is the cause of the burning fire in your solar plexus. And he prescribes Viparit Karani to prevent this loss of nectar. What is Viparit? Viparit means opposite, means do the opposite. Now, this is difficult to understand what to do, what opposite should we do. So he said from the palate, the cool moon is there and its nectar goes down from the palate to the solar plexus. In the solar plexus, you have the fire. So you have to do the opposite. Means what? Bring the fire up and take the coolness down. Viparit means opposite. Karani means do the opposite. Means it is an asana actually in yoga. You put your head down and your feet or legs are up. You can take support of the wall. Yeah, and that is the Viparit asana. Yeah. So he is prescribing that for those who want to bring a balance in their fire and coolness in the body. Fire dies and becomes the moon, even as day ends and night arrives. Again, poetic license. He's just telling you by doing this asana, what will happen? The fire will go in the opposite direction, the coolness will go in the opposite direction, and then the fire will die and it becomes the coolness. At the junction of the fire and the moon, of light and darkness, of night and day, there is the revelation of the truth which eludes the understanding of even wise men. Here again, he is speaking about the truth that comes to light in your deepest meditation. So he is combining asanas and meditation. You do both together. You stabilize the fire, bring it down and increase the coolness. When they attain an equivalent level, you will come to that point where everything in the body becomes silent and you can achieve that state where the truth is revealed. Again, truth here means jnana, svabhava jnana. Even as a day consists of day and night, the jiva is characterized by consciousness and inertia. So both ignorance and consciousness, or knowledge and ignorance, are both present together because they are just the opposite ends of the same spectrum. Fire and the sun symbolize consciousness, and the moon symbolizes darkness or inertia. Even as when the sun is seen in the sky, darkness vanishes on earth. When the light of consciousness is seen, the darkness of ignorance and the cycle of becoming come to an end. This is very important. We got the first line very clearly. Yeah. Like day and night, jiva has both jnana and agyana. Yeah, or knowledge and ignorance, both, because jnana and agyana are opposite ends of the spectrum. So the jnana is fire and agyana is the moon, darkness or inertia. When the sun is seen in the sky, darkness vanishes automatically. Yeah. So if you go to one end of the on the spectrum, the other end vanishes automatically. When the light of consciousness is seen, the darkness of ignorance and the cycle of becoming come to an end. What is cycle of becoming? For those who've done the Buddha sessions with me, remember Bhavanga? Yeah? Now the first word of that, Bhava. Bhava means becoming. So the ancient rishis and sages were very smart. They said, after seeing the truth, after understanding the play and display of earth, water, fire, air, they understood that nothing is constant, nothing is permanent. It is constantly changing. It is in transition all the time, moment to moment to moment to moment. Earth is coming up, then fire is coming up, then water is coming up, then air is coming up in every little atom on this planet, including this body, including the mind or the subtle body which is around this physical body. So it's constantly in a phase of change, constantly in a phase of movement. Yeah, nothing is permanent, nothing is static, everything is dynamic. So if everything is changing, everything is moving, nothing is really real. It is all unreal. Because real is that which is permanent. There is nothing which is permanent. Constant change, constant change, constant change itself signifies that it is unreal. And because they said, and because they understood that it is all unreal, it is all changing, they coined a word, becoming. It is all in a state of becoming. It never is, it never was, or it will never be. You cannot categorically say that, because you can use these words only for that which is permanent. But this entire creation is manifestation of impermanence. Therefore, it is all bhava, it is becoming. Everything is in a state of becoming. So, this state of becoming will come to an end. Do you get it? How? Just by jnana coming up and ajnana going down. And if the moon, the darkness of ignorance or inertia, is seen for what it is, consciousness is realized as the only truth. It is the light of consciousness that reveals the inert body. Consciousness, being non-moving and non-dual, is not grasped. However, it can be realized through its own reflection, the body. This is very beautiful. If the moon, the darkness of ignorance on the other side of spectrum, is seen for what it is, this is ajnana. Right now I am in ajnana. I have hatred, I have anger, I have vasana. All this is ajnana. If I can see it as it is in this moment, I can realize that that which is seeing it is the consciousness. Awareness itself is light. Ignorance is darkness. So, if the moon is seen for what it is, consciousness is realized as the only truth. Do you get it? It is the light of consciousness that reveals the inert body. Consciousness being non-moving and non-dual, because consciousness is the only thing that is not in a constant state of vibration. There is no two there. Everything is one. Within consciousness only there is earth, water, fire and air all playing its games. So, earth, water, fire, ether, air itself is consciousness. In what all this plays is also consciousness. So because it is non-dual, you cannot realize it. Like a fish cannot understand what it is to be outside the water. The moment it goes outside the water, the fish is no more. Yeah? So just the water is, and it cannot recognize that which is non-water. So for it, that is its world, non-dual. Like that only we are all in an ocean of consciousness. And we are all little fish. There is no outside of this consciousness for us. There is no existence outside of this consciousness. That is why we cannot understand consciousness very easily. Yeah? And because it is non-moving, means it's not like a vibration which can be observed in meditation. The one that is observing itself is the consciousness. That which is vibrating on account of the consciousness's power. It can be realized through its own reflection, the body. So when you see the vibrations, you are seeing the body really. And through that you can recognize that awareness of that is the consciousness. Consciousness, when it becomes aware of itself, gains the world. When such objectification is abandoned, there is liberation. Basically, when I come into that jnana and become aware, oh, I am in ajnana, that moment I have abandoned that object. I recognize it is futile. That moment the abandoning happens, the object drops off. You don't have to make an effort to push away the object from you. The object drops off. That is the meaning of the abandoning of, or the objectification is abandoned. Yeah? It drops off automatically. Then only can there be liberation. Prana is heat, fire. Apana is the cool moon. And the two exist like light and shade in the same body. The light of consciousness and the moon of description together bring about experience. And this is very beautiful and important to understand. I get into anger, hatred, jealousy, all this negativity. I'm so lost in passion, in ambition, in vasanas. And I crave, or I'm averse. All this is ajnana. This, when I become aware, oh, I am in ajnan. This awareness itself is jnana, is consciousness. Now this consciousness has become aware of the object of ajnan and the object drops away automatically. So there is just this consciousness. So really, for me to understand this, both were required, the ajnan and the jnana. The light of consciousness and the moon means the light of consciousness is the jnana and the moon is the ajnana. Both together bring about experience. The phenomena called the sun and the moon, which had existed from the beginning of world creation, also exist in the body. It's not that it is just up in the sky. It is right here in the framework of this body. And the day you recognize it, you will start walking your path towards liberation. O Rama, remain in that state where the sun has absorbed the moon into itself. Means jnana has come up and ajnana has dropped away automatically. Remain in that state in which the moon has emerged with the sun in the heart. Remain in that state where there is the realization that the moon is but the reflection of the sun. Yeah, that ajnana is nothing but a reflection of jnana. It takes you towards swabhava jnana, towards higher jnana. Know the junction of the sun and the moon within yourself. The external phenomena are utterly useless. You recognize, are you completely in jnana? Have you transitioned from that agyan towards jnana? Is the awareness becoming stronger? Or are you still lost in this agyana and your awareness is somewhere in the background? Just sometimes it comes up and it goes away. Where are you? Have you been able to start walking this path of jnana and do justice to your own self? Recognize this. This external world and this phenomena outside in the external world is utterly useless. How much are you going to be lost in it? Wake up. This is the homework for the week. Contemplate. Have you moved from agyana towards jnana? And number 2, have you recognized the uselessness or the futility of this samsara? Keep walking the path. And I will see you next week. Jai Gurudev.